I have a theory that the reason why the music of the late 60s and early 70s was so good was because there was this brief period after payola was made illegal where DJs could play anything they wanted to. And they wouldn't just play 3-minute pop song singles, they would actually delving into the deep tracks of the albums and playing some interesting stuff, playing more jazz, playing more extended instrumental pieces. And you started to hear more interesting things in pop music, more challenging, classically influenced, jazz influenced music, um, in actual popular music that was being played on the radio. And you had the growth of radio formats like freeform radio, progressive rock radio, and the progressive rock genre. You had like Frank Zappa coming out of this, and Pink Floyd, and Yes, and Genesis, all these great progressive rock bands that I grew up listening to. Um, and I think, but it also influenced popular music, like Elton John, like was playing a lot of really complex things. Like all the popular music of that period was way more complex than the stuff that you hear on the radio today, which is very repetitive and very predictable. So how did this period end? I think what happened was, even though payola was made illegal, because music had become very lucrative, and I think partly because it had gotten so good during this period, it attracted some bad actors who figured out new ways to game the system. And towards the end of the 70s, you started to see progressive rock radio formats start to disappear, being replaced by more top 40 based radio formats that had playlists that were almost played on a rotation, predictable rotation. They very rarely would delve into the deep tracks of the album. They would just play, the same 2 or 3 songs from each artist. And then later in the 80s, you got MTV, where the look became more important than the music itself, and that kind of watered things down even more. And now it's probably worse than ever with algorithms, and everything is based on short attention span, that quick TikTok video. It's very little based on how complex or serious the music is. So yeah, I mean, this is I've always been a prog rock snob. So, but I do like a good pop song too, and I think, but I just liked the pop songs of that period because I think it had a lot of that complexity and interestingness and unpredictability that a lot of the music today doesn't have.